It's the Powerhouse Woman Show. You're a powerhouse woman, successful, accomplished, but you know the time has come for something else. To pivot, make a shift, or do what you've been putting off for a long time. I'm Monica Pierre, a media entrepreneur, Emmy Award-winning journalist and coach, and I'm on a mission to help you figure out your path forward and create powerful new stories about your life and legacy. There's more ahead. Time to do the greatest work of your life. The Powerhouse Woman Show is sponsored by Fidelity Bank Power. Potential of women entrepreneurs realized with more than 1,200 members. Fidelity Power, believing in the power of you. And we are live once again. Hello and welcome to the Powerhouse Woman Show. I'm Monica Pierre. I'm your host and delighted to spend this time with you live on Thursday to really give you some good perspective, information, tips and strategies, and also a lot of wisdom when it comes to being a powerhouse woman. Thank you so much for joining us. Are you handling right now multiple roles? Are you running your business, your nonprofit? Do you have a leadership role at your job or organization? Are you serving your community or your place of worship? You volunteer, you organize, you fundraise, and the list is long, right? Well, we're going to talk about handling multiple roles today. We're joined by the one and only Tiffany Crawford. When I tell you she is wearing multiple roles, that's just one of them. Tiffany is she is the grassroots coordinator for Louisiana Foundation for Children. She is the executive director also of District 2 Community Enhancement. She plays music at her church. She just does so much. And Tiffany, we welcome you. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, good morning, Monica. Thank you so much for inviting me and having me.
Oh, it's our pleasure, Tiffany. And one of the things that I said, you do so many things, Tiffany. You multiple roles. You do a lot, and you always seem to do it so effortlessly. And you started laughing like that. When it comes to being a powerhouse woman, I think the ones that are really doing a lot and wearing those multiple roles make it seem so not easy, but effortless. And the mere mortals like me on the sidelines go like, well, how is she doing this? How are you doing it, Tiffany?
Well, Monica, I can't believe you called yourself a mere mortal. You have paved the way for so many of us. But I think it's about having a great team. I really think it's about having a great team, a great support system. I have friends that are doing some phenomenal things. And so I try to keep my space around people like that to keep me going. And then as it relates to being able to do different things, I carve out time in the morning. I wake up every morning, not time for me to kind of get in my mind accomplished. And then in the evening, I set aside time just for me so that I can look at what I set out to do, see what I accomplished, and see what I have to do the next day. But it's about having support. It's about having a great team. It's about having people surrounding you that are doing great things. So you're trying to, okay, I can do it. If they can do it, I can do it too.
You mentioned the team, and oftentimes people's first thought is, oh, now I got to hire someone. I have to have this huge organization. Define and give us some perspective on who is part of the team.
So my team literally are my sisters. I have two younger sisters. My mother, who is really my biggest cheerleader. My mother and my father actually are my biggest cheerleaders. They all went into me or drove into me that I could really accomplish in everything. And then I have my childhood friends that have kind of traveled with me along the way and have really adopted. I think that we have kind of worked together to adopt the culture. Okay, if I have a project, that means everybody has a project. And I have one of my sisters is in Houston. And when I decide I want to do something, it's even calling on them. And it's great to have, of course, in the various capacities where I work and where I'm able to contribute. There are great staff there, but the team and my core really not paid staff. I couldn't pay them if I had all the money in the world to do. I couldn't.
Right. So, how do you communicate what you're doing? Because I'm sure these team members also have things going on and could use a team as well. So, how do you know when to include them, when to say, okay, let me see if I can ask somebody else this time? Or do you always go to the ones that, that tier team?
I'm gonna tell you, they are always my go-to, but I am big on planning. I don't really function well in settings where it's kind of like knee-jerk reactions to things. And so I try to, and life happens for everybody. So I'm not unrealistic with that concern. Sometimes you just have to adjust. But for the most part, I set aside different projects. I have this massive calendar that I kind of look at every day and look at weekly. And when there are things that I know that are coming up, like for instance, we have a fashion show that we do with our children. So I call, everybody has the date 6 months in advance. And because most of my projects and the things that I really throw myself into are recurring, everybody knows around this time I'm going to need, when it's Louisiana Federation for Children, when it's session time, and there's a possibility that I need parents and support and business and community leaders. Everybody knows the window. I may need to call on you, and I need you to come. They show up. They show up. Sometimes it's a situation where life is happening for them, and I have to reimagine my expectations. But for the most part, I have I have a great support system.
I love what you just said about reimagine our expectations. I'm going to put that on the screen. You know, we do it live, folks. When somebody says something brilliant, I'm going to type it. So reimagine our expectations, because I think oftentimes we get into this cycle of frustration that, when we really need people, they're not always there, or they said they would do something and then it's crunch time
And
and it's not as urgent for them. Talk a little bit more about reimagining our expectations and possibly giving people grace.
I'm gonna tell you, of course, everybody needs grace, because I know I need a lot of I need a lot of it. So I tend to extend a lot of it. But it's also, I think, reimagining expectations. I'm big on reciprocity. I could not possibly expect for people to show up for me if I don't show up for them. And I am big on that. When my friends are having things, whether it's family, whether it's professional, whatever it is, I can't possibly expect that they're going to show up for me if I'm never available for them. And so when I talk about reimagining expectations, I want to start at the gate, not a tit for tat, but understanding that when it's time for them, I gotta figure it out, because they always figure it out for me. So it's about reciprocity. It's about just being the kind of support system that you need. And because I know what I need, I'm real clear on what I should give.
Okay, that's a good point. And Tiffany, we want to talk about making or striving for progress over perfection. Because I jokingly said, like you're also always so put together, you're always so beautiful, and we're going like, and she does all these things. She works for Louisiana Federation for Children, District 2 Community Enhancement. There's a talent show. There's going to the state capitol with parents. And I didn't even mention your work as a musician at your church, and you're a spouse. And is your son in medical school?
My son is in medical school, and we're praying, guys, pray for him that this is his last semester in class, because the child calls us and he is like, the tests are going to take me out. And I'm like, just hold on, pray, boy, pray. This
Right.
is the
So I
last
know you
time
mentioned about
away.
reimagining. So what's your thoughts about making progress and not striving for perfection?
When I first started my professional career, I guess the best way I can kind of describe my attitude towards that is that I really thought that I could help everybody. I had a real love, and I still do have a real love for young people. That is why District Two is a nonprofit that supports young people in music and fashion, because I love both of those things. The American Federation for Children, the Louisiana Federation for Children, support parents and families, making sure people get access to quality education. So I thought that the church has always been the place where I could go, my refuge and my strength. So, those are the things that what I call work seems to be easy because it's things that I love. And I think that when we start off thinking that we can do everything and everything is going to happen exactly like we say, it's not. It doesn't. And you can't help everybody, but you need to. And I guess I'll go back to reimagining expectations and that. But if you work hard, and you do what you're supposed to do, you can really help the people that you're supposed to help in that time. And of course, I'm a woman of faith. I am a director of music at a church in New Orleans, and I just believe that all things work together for the good. So even when it's not looking like it's in your best interest, it is at the end of the day, it is happening for your good, and I stand on that. So when things are not perfect, sometimes you have disappointments, and of course I'm human, so I sit back and I'm like, gosh, I wish I had done this differently, and if I had only done this. But then, like God he is to me, at the end of the day, it always works out, and it always puts me in a better position so that I could do better the next time. And so I think that's, let's make progress. Let's keep moving. Let's not stop because it wasn't exactly what we thought it was, but let's keep moving, because if we do that, it can be everything we need it to be, and so that's pretty much where I am with that.
Well, you are indeed a powerhouse woman. And as we are wrapping up, we do at the end our powerhouse woman wrap up, where we just ask you some quick little questions here. Tiffany, complete this sentence. A powerhouse woman is?
I say unstoppable. Life happens, but if we keep moving, we're unstoppable.
Unstoppable. The best piece of advice that you have ever received, and I'm always curious with my powerhouse women guests, who gave it to you and how have you used it or maybe continue to use it in your life?
I'm gonna tell you, like I got all the scriptures that any one person could probably get in life. My parents were very on top of things, so I got a lot of advice. But the thing that stands out to me most is something that my mother gave me in a card. And in that card, it said, it was around graduation time. Maybe I got my master's at that point. And the card said, don't get too big for God that you disregard him. And don't let God get too small for you that you discard him. And that stuck with me because I understand, as a powerhouse woman and as women, we are moving, we are making things happen. We are seeing the fruits of our labor and we're seeing our hard work. And I just think that is the thing that's always kept me grounded, because I understand it's not me by myself. I have a lot of spiritual support, definitely. God, I just kind of feel like has always been there with me. But then I have friends and family that when I'm not feeling so great, they are pushing me over the edge. And so it's not me by myself. So those are the things that have kept me grounded. And, it's God at the end of the day too.
Right. Moms always know how to put it in a card or give you that little line that you remember. Great. So we always want to get your advice. You wear multiple roles or multiple hats, as some people call it. You have this team, the people who are actually part of the payroll, but part of the purpose of the journey with you. What advice do you have for other powerhouse women who may be struggling right now to handle these multiple roles? And some of them they really love doing, some maybe not so much. But what can you offer them as advice?
One, to set aside time for yourself. If it's time for, I don't know what settles you, whether it's meditation, prayer, whatever that is, set aside time for yourself. Plan, set out a chart your course. And, life happens for everybody, like I've said. So it might not go in a straight line, but if you have a plan and you can see where the end is, I think that is always helpful. And the bottom line is keep pressing, don't stop, keep moving, and most importantly, don't stop praying, because that's what.
We're going to add spiritual leader to the long list of multiple roles that you have. Tiffany Crawford, you've got a Federation for Children, also a District 2. You've got the fashion show coming up and all the things that you're involved in. I'm sure you really got people moving with a church and the music ministry that you have there. So wonderful advice. So how can people follow you? What's the best way?
I'm on Instagram and Facebook. Those are the platforms that I use most often. And Facebook, I'm Tiffany T. Crawford, and you'll see
Tiffany.
more of my social life than my actual professional life, because
Mhm.
social media for me is the fun stuff, the good stuff. I like to highlight the things that make me happy on my social media. So on Facebook, it's Tiffany T. Crawford. On Instagram, it is Mrs. _ TT Crawford. And it used to just be TT Crawford, guys, but somebody hacked my page, stole my followers, and so I started.
Well, you always look so well put together. So I think I got that. Mrs. TT Crawford. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Very good. But we'll get close to it. Doing it as on the fly. I love this. I love it. You say so many powerful things. And I know you have another meeting, Powerhouse Woman. So thank you for being with us.
Monica, thank you so very much for having me. And I just want to say this one last thing. A lot of what motivated me younger, and I tuned into Monica's moments all of the time, because if I could just hear a word, maybe I wasn't feeling so good, but those moments, those Monica was so introspective, and it really was a push or a nudge sometimes when I needed it. So thank you for all the work that you've done, and again, thank you for having me. I hope I
Oh, it's
didn't
been my
change.
pleasure. You did great. We learned some stuff. Thank you, Tiffany. Have a fabulous day. We appreciate you being with
You
us.
too.
And as always, we
Thank you.
appreciate you being with us as well on the Powerhouse Woman Show. Subscribe. Do me a favor. I'd be very, very honored if you would do that. So have a great day. We'll talk soon.